How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Pardon my tiredness. I stayed up all night making this video, so hopefully I didn't forget to put anything in here or whatnot. Before we get started, I do want to say thank you guys a lot for the support lately. You guys have been going crazy. We're almost at 1,000 subs, and I asked for you all to help me out and share the video and subscribe and whatnot. And a lot of y'all really came through. Y'all have been coming through. I appreciate the hell out of that, man. We are gonna get there. I have no doubt in my mind we're gonna get there. So this video is actually, it's probably gonna be my second to last Hu Tao video. I'm thinking when Farina comes out, I'll end up making one last Hu Tao guide if there are any updates or any new synergies that come from that. I'll probably make one last video. This is actually not a direct Hu Tao guide though. It started off that way, but now it's more of a Hu Tao misconceptions video, because a lot of times I get to talking about Hu Tao and how she's played, and a lot of the community has very black and white, she's either this or this kind of opinions, or she does this, she can't do this, you must do this, you can't do that. There's a lot of polarized opinions when it comes to Hu Tao. And as a almost 2-year Hu Tao haver, I just want to set the record straight. These are of course my opinions on the matter, but I do have some math to back it up. There could be some things I'm missing, but in general, these things here are going to be true more often than not. All right, so without further ado, let's get into our Hu Tao misconceptions. So our first misconception is that Hu Tao must be below 50% HP at all times for her to be a viable character at all. And I understand where a lot of people can get confused with this, but you have to think about it more like an option rather than a requirement. The purpose, because if you take a look at Hu Tao's kit, the only part of her kit that even mentions being below 50% HP is her 33% pyro damage bonus. That's literally it. No other part of her kit mentions being below 50% HP. Not a single other part. And the intention of this is not to limit you, but that is supposed to exist so she can exist without Bennett. She can run with Bennett, but the 33% pyro damage bonus is supposed to free her from being another DPS who's carried by Bennett. This allows her to run by herself, or in teams with double hydro and Zhongli, or double hydro and an Animo. That's why this exists. It's not a restriction. It's liberty, it's freedom. You have more options now because of this passive. But there can be possible exceptions depending on whether or not you have Homa, because Homa has two passives. It gives a 0.8% of your HP as attack, and that's unconditional. You get that just for holding the weapon. But the second passive is when your health is below 50%, you get an extra 1% of your max HP converted into attack percent. So depending on whether or not you have this weapon, it could slightly change the math on, because you're going to be using a different weapon or whatnot. So your math could be slightly different, but in general, the things I'm going to talk about should be consistent regardless of which weapon you have, because I have Homa, which is the far end of this spectrum, and the math still checks out. So any other weapon should still check out outside of some new Fontaine stuff that might come out after this video, and it might be busted or whatever. But besides that happening, everything here should be fairly consistent across weapons. Our second topic, which is Hu Tao shouldn't be run with Bennett. Nowhere in the Genshin code does it say Hu Tao cannot be run with Bennett. And actually, this is her Bennett offers Hu Tao one of her most high damage teams in the game, period. Because without Bennett, you can't reach those insane vapes. Without Bennett, you're just not gonna do it. Your attack just won't go high enough. Yeah, Homa gives you a lot of attack, and that's the point, to be run without Bennett. But when you use them combined with Bennett, it opens up a whole new realm. Like if you are a Hu Tao player and you want your Hu Tao to do monstrous damage, do not listen to the community. You gotta run her with Bennett, because when you run with Bennett, you can now do the VV Vape Team, which is Viridescent Venerer, whatever, however you say that, Vape Team, which is Hu Tao, a Hydro unit, a Pyro unit, and an Animo unit. So how it works is basically you use your Pyro unit, which is it would be Bennett. You would swirl Pyro, and that reduces the enemy's resistance to Pyro. And if you have Kazuha, you also get a 40% Pyro damage bonus. And I mean, after that, it's pretty much just discuss, because Hu Tao's already like really jacked as a character. She's very strong. She gets like twice the damage from vaping, and then when you use an Animo unit to reduce and buff and all that stuff, like it's crazy. The damage is ridiculous. So in this particular scenario, we would be having Kazuha for the 40% damage bonus and the VV Shred. We have Bennett for the ridiculous amount of attack percent that he gives and the ability to swirl Pyro, which Hu Tao can't do solo. And then we might have a certain upcoming Hydro character that could possibly give upwards of 90% damage bonus to your entire team plus Hydro application, which is a little absurd if you ask me. Like, this more than makes up for you not having the 33% Pyro damage bonus. Like, these buffs much more significant than I think it's a lot more worth having this than it is like to have just the Pyro damage bonus, you know what I'm saying? I think this is a lot better. Just in case you were a non-believer, on the left, it's me fighting Magu Kenki, and this is like a regular like double Hydro vape. So it's just Hydro and Hu Tao, 62,000 damage. And then when you set up the VV vape, and this isn't even with like optimal weapons on like Bennett, because like if you run like I could have put Mist-Splitter on him and got like a much more significant attack buff, but still we almost vaped for 100,000. And I mean, we're not even doing like optimal stuff. I don't have like whale weapons or anything like that, and we still almost vaped 100k. So I mean, the results really speak for themselves. You reach a much higher damage ceiling by doing VV vape. There's only so much you can do with just like a double Hydro team, just in general. So just to recap, what you lose when you use Bennett for VV vape, you no longer can activate Hu Tao's 33% damage Pyro damage bonus, because you're going to be standing in Bennett burst, so you're going to be healing, and you won't get the activation of Homa's second passive. But these do not matter, because if you can comfortably run a VV vape team, the damage output is astronomically better than if you were running any other Hu Tao team, and it's only going to get better with the release of a certain Hydro character. What you gain by running Bennett on a VV vape team is absurd damage. You get proper AoE if you're running like Kazuha or Sucrose, because their bursts both leave something on the field. More so Kazuha is just stronger, but Sucrose also leaves something on the field. She gives elemental mastery, all that good stuff, and you get AoE from those characters. And when the enemies are grouped because of your Animo unit, which you can't do with a Hydro unit, when you group them with an Animo unit, Hu Tao can now have a little bit more like of a better time with AoE, you know? Also, you gain happiness, because the Hu Tao that you spent Primo Gems on and pulled for and got lucky, she now does damage. She does the damage that you would expect her to do running a VV vape team. I think this is our third misconception, is that Hu Tao needs a shield. This is not entirely true. I run the VV vape team without a shield, and I beat the entire abyss without once like pondering the thought that like I might need a shield. Like, I died on the last chamber with the Icewind dancers, but I mean, that's because they're broken. Like, They're doing all these AoEs and stuff. So I restarted maybe like twice, and then I happened to beat it. But not once did the idea that I couldn't beat it because I needed a shielder ever cross my mind. Using a shielder means you are losing a potential damage source. So like where we have Kazuha who does damage, we have Bennett who increases damage, we have like Singcho who increases damage. If we dropped any one of those characters, we're losing damage. So we would have to drop Kazuha, which means we can no longer swirl, which means we lost damage on Hu Tao and we lost damage on Kazuha. So we took a double hit by using a shield. Hu Tao, if interruption is your problem, Hu Tao has a lot of interruption built into her kit. It's literally baked into her elemental skill. You can resist a lot more attacks than you think you can. And especially if you use someone like Singcho, whose rain swords give resistance to interruption, they give healing and damage mitigation. So you have prolonged life, you have higher sustain for running Singcho. Plus, when you're using charge attacks, you're super resistant to a lot of stuff. Plus, like if the enemies are small enough for you to dash through them when you charge, like a lot of times you could just make enemies whiff over and over again. Like you don't take damage. Plus, you should be in one seeing, or you know, in one seeing dash. Like you should be dashing during your combos for optimal damage and whatnot. So if you're dodging and dashing and jumping, like you should be avoiding a lot of incoming damage. Plus you have your burst, which you can heal off of. So it's not really many reasons why Hu Tao needs to run a shielder. You know, there's a lot more damage to be had if you just dodge. Another misconception I always see is that the hydro unit that runs with Hu Tao needs to have like super fast hydro. Now, this is not totally incorrect, because they do need to have really fast hydro, and that way Hu Tao can vape all of her hits 100%. But running a VV vape team, it's not the worst thing if Hu Tao doesn't vape all of her hits. You're still hitting like a charge attack for like 40 something K, which is, it's not bad damage. Like your hydro unit is still doing damage, even if like the hydro is not lasting, it's not applying. You're still getting the damage, you're still swirling. So like you're still getting damage reductions and damage boosts. Like every hit just might not vape, but that doesn't make the team not functional. Also, if you're running a character like Kazuha, there are specific like VV setups you can do where he'll swirl hydro, and because he's now applying hydro with his burst and you have a hydro unit who's also applying hydro, there's enough. Even if the original hydro unit is slow, your animo unit can actually help spread the hydro, which will then help Hu Tao vape more of her hits. So that's something you can look into. I think I got a clip of me hitting it on the Lego array, but like it's very hard. I'm not gonna lie to you, it took a lot of tries to get it to work. My last misconception, which I'm seeing quite often, is that Hu Tao doesn't work in Burgeon, and this is a lie. Hu Tao, like if you run Burgeon Hu Tao, which is with the release of Dendro, this probably couldn't have been better for Hu Tao, because Hu Tao is known for single target damage. But if you run Burgeon, Hu Tao now becomes an AoE damage dealer, which is great. There's not a lot of like strong AoE characters in the game. Hu Tao becomes an AoE damage dealer. The self damage from the cores allows her to reach below 50% HP, which activates her passive for 33% pyro bonus. And if you swap your HP sand out, and this is if you're running Homa, if you swap your HP sand out for an EM sand, generally the damage you're getting from that is enough to get through any like abyss cycle. If you're running Dragon's Bane, you're good. You could just keep using what you're using. I got through the abyss with the Dragon's Bane, Hu Tao, Singcho. I didn't have Nahida at the time. No, I had Nahida. She was on the other side. I was using Hu Tao, Singcho, I think Kirara and Yao Yao, and that got me through the abyss. So, and my Kirara and Yao Yao aren't like high constellation or nothing like that. Xingqiu's C6, but Hu Tao's C1. So you don't need C6s to get through the abyss. The game's not that hard. Like, it's hard, but like, it's not that hard, you know. Outside of that, I think that wraps up everything I wanted to talk about. I get kind of tired of people like pigeonholing Hu Tao into like a one-trick pony kind of thing. And she's very versatile. Like, she's not just a black or white kind of character. Like, oh, you use her here, not here. Like, she actually works in quite a few comps if you're just willing to be creative, you know. If you're willing to learn and like expand the way you think about things. Like, she works in quite a few comps. So that's that. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, so much for the support. I can't wait to get the 1K subs. That's been my goal for a long time. I told y'all that before. I'll keep telling y'all. When we get the 1K subs, I'll hand out some Welkins or something, you know. Maybe we'll do like 5 Welkins giveaway. I'm not rich, but you know, give back to everybody who helped get here, whatnot. But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video. Deuce.